Do I have a plan? I'd
Like
like to think I do.
order questions or
Yeah, what we're going to do is I'm just going to lay out the basic issue. I may record that again later. Um, and then you're going to just tell us how you're going to just solve the whole problem. Sort of reset the issue, and then we'll talk briefly about PTSD, about autism, and multiple sclerosis. We don't need to get into so much what they are, but how
good.
people suffer. They feel hopeless. There's not a ton of stuff out there, but there could be. And the could be is the part that's interesting to us because that's your specialty.
Right.
Okay. You ready?
I think so.
Okay. Carrie Harrison here with you, and I want to welcome you to this special program because today we're going to talk about a solution to a series of issues that plague pretty much everybody you know has one of these or the others, whether it's autism, whether it's PTSD, whether it's Alzheimer's disease, and people feel hopeless. They feel limited. They're not sure where to go, and medically speaking, there's cures on the horizon. There's a lot being done. But did you know that existing pharmaceutical medicines, existing ones, could be repurposed to actually attack these very conditions and many, many others? But unfortunately, the industry, as we all know, is not poised to allow that. Yet there are some brilliant scientists out there who have found a new pathway. One of them is Barbara Handelin. She's with us today. And Barbara, you are what we would call a superhero because what you're doing is bringing to the fore the possibility that we can have existing medications. We don't have to invent brand new ones, but we could repurpose them to actually change the course of medicine.
Yes, that's right, Gary. But as you said in your introduction, that's not happening. And it will never happen until and unless we change how we incentivize our industry. And we all know that whatever we incentivize is the behavior that we get. And right now, our biotech and pharmaceutical industries are heavily incentivized to maximize profits as opposed to maximizing the number of diseases that we could be treating and at what cost that we could be treating.
So let's take something like multiple sclerosis, which is something that we're all familiar with. We all have heard of, we all know people who suffer from it. It's affects the myelin sheath. It does all kinds of stuff, and pretty much you end up in a wheelchair, endlessly decompensating, and it's painful. Same thing with autism. It causes. Sorry, my phones are all blowing up. We're just going to pause for a second here. Can you see this on the screen?
Yeah, I can.
The Apple Corporation literally just cut in on our broadcast. If that doesn't tell you a lot.
I know.
And I don't know how that's supposed to happen, but they did. Okay. Barbara Handelin, you point out that when it comes to MS, if you want to see, and I'm just reading what you've said, the 75,000 children who will be born this year that we wait to find out 4 more years have brains that are developed. I'm sorry. Sorry. We're now on autism here.
And actually, Carrie, while you're paused, let me
Yeah.
ask you something. So I have an interest to weave in this. We have to come up with a new way and why a new way to finance, and why. Do you not really want me to talk about the sort of the fundamental problem?
I do, but what I want to do is get people in on that there's a problem. Not a problem with the industry, but people are sick, and that you're
Yeah.
there to find a way to help them. Because
Hmm.
otherwise, it's just, if it's too intellectual and too conceptual and too this and that, they have to get emotionally involved.
Okay. Got it.
So I'm sorry about that interruption. It kind of threw everything off there. Barbara Handlin, about 75,000 children will be born this year, and within the next number of years, we're going to find out that
It's 75,000 with autism.
yeah. I have this. All these phones are cutting into the circuit, and I need to find out what's going on here.
Yeah. Do you want to solve that?
Yeah, I do. We've digitized our studios, so they're all online now, and this is what we get. Okay. Barbara Handlin, about 75,000 children are going to be born, and within the next 4 years or so, we're going to find out that their brains are developing into an autistic profile. This is horrifying for the amount of people that are born in the United States and around the world, with so far limited possibilities. Tell us a little bit about what your plan is to change the nature of medicine.
Well, we have an interest and an opportunity to stand up a young company that has been diligently working on trying to understand what autism actually is. Carrie, today we just diagnosed autism by behavioral patterns. And those are hard to pick up on until a child is, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, as speech and various normative social behaviors start to fall away. So this company took the attitude of maybe we could understand what the actual underlying biochemistry of autism is. And if we could, then we'd be able to take a blood sample or a urine sample, and instead of guessing based on behavior, you could make a diagnosis. And you could do that really early while that child's brain is going through its major developmental processes. And you would have an opportunity to intervene using even the behavioral methods that are being used today, which we know are effective, especially the earlier we start. So this has been a lot of science and technology to figure all that out. The company's actually poised to bring this to patients.
So
Families.
I'm guessing there is a price tag to this. We hear from the pharmaceutical companies that the whole reason they can't actually really help us is that it's impossibly expensive. The research and development, the yacht payments, whatever it might be. But you found a new way around this through a public benefits company where the public benefits, hey, wow, but you have to raise money for it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And the existing investor base for all things medical is very expensive capital. Comes from starting with venture capitalists who are in the business of returning very, very exciting returns to their investors. So we need to be free as a company like ours. We need to be free to say no thanks to that kind of capital, because we want to work on medicines and diagnostics that are going to give us good margins, but that are not going to produce the kind of outsized profits that are required for investors, including Wall Street and the public markets.
So the short version is that you've come up with a way. There is an 800 number on the screen occasionally there. Audacity Therapeutics is your website, audacitytherapeutics.com. People can go and learn more. And it's important whenever people heroically come up and change the nature, disruptors, as you are, disrupting the way it's been done for decades that has only been able to help limited amounts of people, especially if only if they have insurance, they could pay for it, etc. But the average person, well, they've been kind of left beside. This literally changes everything. So if you put this together, when you do, and the three biggies that you're looking at right now are PTSD, that would cover virtually every single military person who has returned from Iraq, from Afghanistan, from any other battlefield of conflict, going back to the Vietnam War, going back to World War II, the Korean War, and wars regrettably yet to come. They come back with severe PTSD. They're incapable of often carrying on even basic tasks. They have difficulties having social skill sets, romantic capabilities anymore. And it's such a horrific and crippling disease, PTSD, invisible as it is. For you to be able to offer real solutions to that helps at least 10% of America right off the bat. Autism helps at least 10 to 20% of America right off the bat. Multiple sclerosis helps, again, a huge number of Americans right off the bat. What does it cost for you to put on one of these clinical trials so that we get an understanding of what investors might be looking at?
Well, the cost for us to engage in clinical trials for any of those and the myriad of other diseases, disorders that we are looking to address with existing medicines, our costs are significantly less than what you will hear in the general industry. And that's because we are extracting and capitalizing on the fact that these medicines have been trialed. Some of them have actually been used, prescribed in general practice. They may even have gone all the way to being a generic drug. So we know they're safe, or we know what their limitations are. And now we are simply saying, let's use that same drug compound. We've invested a lot, somebody invested a lot of money previously. Let's use that same thing and try it in a new indication. And so our cost for doing that is much, much less. Let's say on average, we can get started and way down the road with $20 to $50 million in order to run an effective clinical trial to prove or disprove the ability of these old drugs for new important indications.
So I'm going to make an analogy, one that's popular, at least with the men folk. Viagra.
Yeah.
Dreaded, happy Viagra. Viagra is now generic. You can get it on TV, you can get it in magazines, you can get it from the doctor of your choice. You don't have to explain, you can just get it. And that's because it's generic, and you can get it for cheap. And we know it works, we know it's safe, we know how it works. Everything is already all figured out. So you're taking something, for example, like a Viagra, which everyone understands, which is universally accepted, and you're saying, but it also does something else. It also helps like lower blood pressure. I think it actually does. And some other
That's what it was originally being developed for.
Okay. And so we're going to actually focus it on lowering blood pressure, and we're going to do it at a tenth of the price as it would ordinarily be. Well, that's a big win for people with high blood pressure, like most Americans. That would just be a made-up example. But that's what you're looking to do for your big three right now, multiple sclerosis, MS, autism, and PTSD, is find ways like this where you can make major changes at affordable prices.
Correct. So, for example, multiple sclerosis. Members of the Audacity team have developed evidence that an old AIDS drug, an old anti-HIV drug, can be extremely effective in treating multiple sclerosis. And, why do we care about that? Geez, there's 60 other medications that are on the market right now for multiple sclerosis. But if you talk to people who have multiple sclerosis, most of them will tell you, my disease is inadequately treated. I keep progressing. And some of my symptoms, like my debilitating fatigue, are ruining my life. And I'm getting worse. That's an enormous market for a number of companies. So do you think they have an interest in picking up an old generic AIDS drug and letting that come on the market as a potentially more effective treatment for multiple sclerosis? Yeah, certainly not. And the investor base who would be wanting to invest in some exciting new cure for multiple sclerosis, they say, well, you're not going to be able to make that kind of profit on an old drug. So therefore, that investment doesn't flow in. Carrie, we need a new class of investors.
Interesting question here. New class of investors, they get a major bang on return, plus they get to help the human race, of which they are members personally. You don't get to opt out of that part. I mean, it's got so much upside that it's absolutely crazy. These investors get to participate in that, and we get to repurpose drugs that most pharmaceutical companies could literally not give a darn about. As far as they're concerned, there ain't no more profit. The patents have expired. See ya. You're sitting on a treasure trove of dynamite data and information that can repurpose these things into nothing less but than magical cures. On your staff, on your team, part of your collective, part of your collaborative organization is a woman who is instrumental in us understanding TB, tuberculosis, and getting very close to that cure. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's a great example of a medicine that will come, and we will be treating tuberculosis around the world. But it has taken 25 years of slaving under always underfunded conditions to eke forward the scientific basis and then the clinical trials, which are happening outside the United States because we don't have a lot of TB here. It will come to be, but it could have come to be at least a decade ago, had the sufficient amount of funding been made available. But that funding, Carrie, it has to come with an expectation of simply a more modest return. Think of it as, I want to put part of my 401k into bonds, and I'm going to make a nice return over a long period of time. I'm going to let my money sit. It's going to get invested in all the medicines we actually need, and I'll get a nice regular return. What's wrong with that? That's why we have to rethink this.
Yes, we have to rethink this, and it's interesting, Barbara Handlin. I don't actually ever bring on pharmaceutical people because it kind of makes all of our stomachs churn. But you're the anti-pharmaceutical person. You're the person who understands that many of our medicines came out of the Amazon originally. They came out of here and there, and that all the R&D and heavy lifting has been done. And all you're going to do now is the clinical trials. You're going to take what we know works. We're going to take many of these medications that we know also do 1, 2, 3, 4, do clinical trials with real people and unleash the cures. And that is a game changer. So how do people get involved and help you realize this vision and save humanity, just putting it casually?
Well, we are looking to spread the word. So thank you for having us on your show. We're looking for people who want to not even cause a revolution. We don't have to knock the pharmaceutical or biotech industry off of its pedestal. What we need is to establish a new industry channel. So we're looking for people who are interested in becoming investors. We're also looking for creative financial wizards to work with us on a commission that we're putting together to really set out a blueprint for everybody. You know, Carrie, part of the problem in our industry is that we're big on keeping secrets. We feel we have to keep our secrets so that we have exclusivity. That's why we put things on a shelf so that nobody else can do it either. Audacity is about saying, let's stop keeping secrets. So we're commissioning a blueprint for a new financing pathway. And when that is developed, we're going to be sharing it because we want everybody to be doing it. So we're looking for financial wizards. We're looking for people who want to sit down with us and say, let's come up with a better investment thesis than I give you my money and you give me 30 times what I gave you in 5 to 7 years.
The Wall Street model.
That's right.
Well, this is a great playpen here because public radio listeners are entrepreneurs. They're smart. They've got good hearts, big hearts, and the idea that this is an open source project too, that you're looking for smart people that can help make it happen is awesome because you just never know who's going to hear it and say, I know exactly what to do, or I know the right people to help get this done. Is audacitytherapeutics.com a great place for people to go and learn more?
That is a reasonable place to go to learn more. But honestly, I would like to hear from people personally. And that's why I think we have our toll-free number on your screen.
You do now.
And I can also say it out loud. It's
888-440-2520. 888-440-2520. That's 888-440-2520. And Barbara, you will actually answer the phone like a live human, not like an AI?
I will. I'll be answering the phone. That's right.
Well, it's been a real treat talking to you because anybody who's a disruptor is a hero of mine. The muckraker in me horripilates in anticipatory delight watching you unfold this thing with great success. And I know you will because it's a genius concept. We've all sat around for years saying, well, this has a side effect, but that's like a good side effect. But they're ignoring it. And you're talking about taking all these medications that have become their patents have expired. They're all available. They're all available affordably, and using them all to actually handle and treat multiple diseases for multiple people and multiple populations in an affordable, caring way, which is what medicine, which is what Hippocrates said. Above all else, do no harm.
Do no harm.
Yeah. So my hat's off to you. audacitytherapeutics.com. Again, you can call Barbara if you have any cool ideas. If you have that number handy, Barbara, you could say it again.
888-440-2520.
All right. We want to thank you so much for coming on today. And we're going to be watching closely as you, Elon Musk-like, take your missile straight up in the air and explode it in the fireworks of the future possibility.
Thanks, Carrie. Yes, as Elon Musk kind of has demonstrated, you have to just go do it. Stop talking about why it can't happen.
And one final word, even though I just threatened to say goodbye there, the fact that women are taking charge of this is also fascinating and is probably worthy of another conversation at another time. But you're largely a team of women, and I say yes for that. because I know that
Well, thank you.
detail is taken care of. I know that the heart and the passion is in there, and so I know this is going to work.
Yep. Yep. It's a communal way of thinking.
All right. Well,
And
thanks for coming on today, and we'll look forward to following up with you shortly.
all right. Bye for now, Carrie.
Bye, Barbara. Well, all right. That was good, clean fun. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Is there anything you feel like you want to add in that wasn't covered?
I almost did this too at the end. I think.
You can go ahead and just do it right now because I'm still recording.
Oh, okay. Let's see. For any of your listeners, all of your listeners, can I'm sure think of at least one person in their life who has or has had a terrible disease that has been untreated or really poorly treated. And the reason I can be confident about that is because despite the fact that we have a tsunami of understanding about the molecular basis of human disease, we only have treatments for 10%. 10%. And the only reason for that is because there's no incentives to actually make the maximum number of treatments for the maximum number of diseases at a cost that our whole system can afford. But it is not rocket science to solve that problem. And that's what we and others like Audacity Therapeutics are about to do.
That's beautiful. All right. I will, I'm just going to add a head and a tail onto this later.
Okay.
But that was like a really good closing statement.
Okay, good. Yeah, either intro or closing. It always gets people's attention.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is exciting. So we'll get this edited up and then let you know when it's going to be on. You can hear it happen live. You'll also see it posted on the LRT website and other places. And you did good.
Okay. Well, I would love to do a whole series.
One of the things that I would like to do, Barbara, is I want to put together a series of what your doctor won't tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's most of us.
Yeah.
And talking about that stuff, people will be fascinated. It also has the ameliorative side effect of pushing Audacity at the same time.
Yeah.
So let's talk about maybe doing a webinar.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I also had this image that I didn't work in here. I don't think I did. But, the fact that, the industry spends at least 50 cents of every dollar on sales and marketing. But, none of us are standing around at the pharmacy saying, oh, I don't know, do I want this brand or that product? No. In sales and marketing, they teach you need to get the prospective customer to the point of where they feel they must have your product.
Yeah.
Well, we walk in must having.
I have a friend, Barbara, in Switzerland who works for Novartis, and they make Claritin. And I said, well, if this were the U.S., we would simply fly a crop duster and put in all kinds of allergens while we're crop dusting and give everyone hideous hay fever for 1,000 square miles and then run Claritin ads. And he said, that's brilliant. I said, no, I'm not recommending it, but that's how we do it in the States. He goes, I don't think that's legal here. I said, good. But to your point, 50% goes to sales and marketing. It's like having an insurance company, a third entity in the doctor, patient, insurance company. And what are they doing here? Well, they're taking their cut.
Yes. Yeah. No. It's so the numbers, just speak yards about why we are where we are. If you're spending that in sales and marketing, and you're only spending 15% in R&D, but you're using that number to you're using, it costs so much to make new drugs to justify your pricing. It literally does not add up.
All right. I think we got the beautiful moment there together.
Good.
So we are good, Barbara. I appreciate it very much.
Hey, you know what?
Yes.
I'm just seeing a typo in the banner. Therapeutics is spelled THERE instead of TREA.
Okay, 1 second.
Well, Carrie, you're my hero because of all of the great work you have done using the airwaves to educate, provide insight, raise the bar on truth. It's super wonderful and super important.
Well, thank you. And like you, it's not in a vacuum. If I didn't know people and hang around people like you, I would forget that there was a higher purpose.
Yeah.
So birds of a feather happily flock, fly, and poop together. It's a beautiful thing.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's true. And I can tell you that there are thousands of scientists inside thousands of companies who really don't want to be operating in that environment.
Yeah.
It's not why they went into the field, to make a lot of money.
I met a woman whose name won't mean anything to most people, Judith Vary Baker, V-A-R-Y. Not that you've ever heard her name. She was the girlfriend of Lee Harvey Oswald.
Oh.
And in 1962, I think it was, she was working at Tulane in New Orleans. Is it Tulane?
Yeah, the university.
Tulane. Government contract. And she was in her late teens, but a real, just a shooting star of scientific creativity and intelligence. Mm-hmm. And her job was working on exposing cancers to mutating them through radiolytic exposure and then turning them into super cancers. And then they were going to inject that into, not she, but the CIA or whoever was going to inject that into Fidel Castro, and it would kill him within 28 days. And that was her mission.
Wow.
And the courier that was bringing her these radiolytic properties from Oak Ridge, Tennessee, was none other than Lee Harvey Oswald,
No way.
who was a Secret Service guy guarding the president and had saved Kennedy 6 months before in Detroit. And he was a very trusted, very close friend to Kennedy, and he was asked to fall on his sword. 3 days before, he called her up and said, "I'm never going to see you again." He didn't tell her exactly what was going on, but something big and major was going to happen, and he wouldn't be able to see her again. But that was his job, was to be the courier, and the president trusted him to take these radioactive properties back and forth from Oak Ridge to Tulane. And of course, that's where he meets her. They become boyfriend, girlfriend, and it's a very fascinating story. And what scientists go through and the secrets they have and things they wouldn't ever opt to do, but they're kind of forced to do. That's a book in itself, I think.
Yeah. Yep. It is. Hmm. And all the things that you are not allowed to do because it can't be justified. Financially, it can't be justified.
Well, I'm so happy that we've met. More ahead, and I'll get working on this stuff and onward and upward.
All right.
And enjoy your
Thanks,
wedding
Gary.
upcoming.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'll be talking to you soon. Otherwise.
That you will, and I look forward to it.
Okay, dear.
All right, have a great